Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new lesson. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. In our previous lesson, we learned how to write expressions. Now, we would now look at how to take those expressions apart and then understand the specific members that make them all up. And hence, we are looking at the parts of an algebraic expression. So, without much ado, let's quickly look into it. So, now talking of these, we first of all have terms, variables, coefficients, and then constants. What is a term? With respect to algebraic expressions, then we say a term is the building blocks of any expression at all. They are the parts separated by what? Plus or minus. What do we mean by this? Looking at some of the expressions we wrote in our previous lessons, such as n plus 5. This expression here, we can say, has got two terms. We said they are parts separated by what? Plus or minus. There is a plus over here. Now, there's a term on the right hand side of the plus and then also on its left hand side. So far as there's a plus or minus separating us, then we can say a term has been formed. On the other hand, if I add 9n, this here is just one term. The sign we have here is multiplication. And take note, we said the sign should be what? Plus or minus before we can say there are more than one term. So for here, we have one term, all together becoming two terms. On the other hand, this is just one term. If we had 2x minus 5, this is going to be two terms. This being one term separated with a subtraction sign, then another term over here. So these are what we call what? Terms. This has got two terms. This is just a term. This is also two terms. The next one here is the variable, and I think we spoke about them in our previous lesson. These are the letters that represent the unknown. They can be any letter at all, from A to Z. Any letter in any language is allowed as a variable. So we have here X, Y, A, or B. These are all letters that you can use to represent what? Unknowns. So far as you don't know the exact value, you can use any letter. Now, the next one we want to look at is the coefficient. The coefficient is simply the number that is placed directly in front of a variable. If we take what we have here, which was 9n, the 9 here becomes our coefficient because it is the number that was placed exactly in front of the variable. Now, it tells us how many of the variables we have. So we have 9 of the n's all together. That gives us what? The 9n. If you have a variable such as n only, there is always a 1 in front of a variable without a number in front of it. But we don't write the 1. That is why we don't say 1n, but then we say n. It is accepted that way. 2x minus 5. Our variable here is x. How many x's do we have? There are 2 of these, and that is the coefficient. So the coefficient is the number placed in front of the variable, and it tells you how many of those variables you actually have. Then the last one we'll be looking at is the constant. Now, in an algebraic expression, there are some numbers that stand all by themselves with no variable attached. That is what we call the constant. So for a constant, what we had over here, 2x minus 5. We have said the x is the variable, 2 is the coefficient, but then this here becomes our constant. The 5 is the constant. but it will never change. You see, it will never do what? Change. And that is the constant. So with these basic terms, let's apply them to solve some basic questions that requires understanding. Now, with respect to all that we have done, I would want you to take this expression here, then try and get all the terms we have considered from it. Starting with what we call the terms. So with the terms, how many terms do we have in here? There are basically three terms. So the first term is your 2x squared. Your next term will be this here, which is 5x. And then your last one is going to be your negative 3. These are the three terms we have in this algebraic expression. Now, talking of the variables, there is only one set of variable, that is x. They chose to use x throughout the expression. Now, what are the coefficients we have in this expression? So we said the coefficients are the numbers that come right before the variable. So if this is a variable, this is a coefficient. So we have 2 as a coefficient, and we also have 5 as a coefficient. Then the last one, which is our constant, which number stands alone? That is the negative 3 over here. It stands alone. Now, you might ask why I am adding the negative to it. The sign should always be with the number. Now, with all this said, there is what we call classification of expressions, and that is based on the number of terms an expression has. Under this classification, we will look at just 3 types. That is the monomial, the binomial, and the trinomial. So when we classify an expression as monomial, what does it mean? So is there an expression is a monomial expression? It will simply mean the expression has only one term. Take note, it has just one term. Example of expressions that have one term, 7x. This has just one term, positive 7x. 5, which is a constant, is also a monomial. Mono means one. Then negative 3ab. We went through how to identify the term. We said there should be plus or minus in between them. If you take this 3, A and then B, we don't have plus or minus in between. We don't have it in between. Hence, they are all considered as one term. And so far as they are just one term, then it is a monomial. The next one we are looking at is the binomial. Now, bi, on the other hand, means 2. So if the expression has 2 terms, then we say it is a binomial. So if you have x plus 5, this alone is a monomial. This alone is a monomial, but if we add them together, we get a binomial. 2a is a monomial. It is on its own. Negative 3b is also a monomial, but if we combine them together, we get a bi. That is 2 of them. Then I guess you would understand, or you can tell what a trinomial then is. You can pause and then write it at the comment section. And I guess you were able to do that. Trinomial is an expression with exactly 3 terms. It has exactly what? 3 terms. If you have A plus B plus C, this is an example of a trinomial. Now, if we have x squared plus bx, then plus c, this is also an example of a trinomial. You can get as many as you want. This is also an example of a trinomial. It is important you don't mix this up. If you have x plus x, then plus x, you wouldn't call this a trinomial, because in actual sense, if you have to simplify this, as we'll do in a subsequent video, we'll get 3x. You see, so take note, this here, when simplified, is not a trinomial. You take note of how the trinomials appear. They have 3 terms. Now, the general name we use to call these binomials, monomials, and then trinomial is polynomial. Polynomial is spelled Polynomial. We'll talk more about polynomials in our subsequent videos. But for now, we are ending this right here. As usual, I'll leave you with some exercises so you try on your own. So here you have just 5 questions to test your understanding. They are all based on what we have done so far. I do believe you would be able to do them. This is how Beyond Numbers where we learn maths the easy way. If this is your first time on this channel and you think it will be of help to you, you can subscribe if you so do wish, so that anytime I release a video, you'll be notified as well. See you in our next lesson, and bye for now. Stay safe.